Once again, I come to you all from the wastelands of the internet. It is I, the Nomad, and I'm going to bring you news of the week. News that you may have seen, news that you may not have seen, news you probably care about and don't care about, all in one little neat little package. Right now, I am by myself. If Batman or one of my other co-hosts show up, they are more than welcome. We'll see how things go. I just want to sit up there and say good morning to Matt Barkley and good morning, TM. I hope that you're all doing well. Uh, it is going to be an interesting show. There's a lot to get into. Let's get started. Mugshot. Trump capitalizes on jail photo with t-shirts, mugs, bumper stickers. It didn't take long for former President Donald Trump to capitalize on his mugshot after being arrested and processed at Georgia's Fulton County Jail on Thursday. Hours after the arrest, Trump 2024 campaign released a line of merchandise plastered with his mugshot and the slogan, "Never Surrender." As of reporting, the Trump campaign is currently selling t-shirts, both short and long sleeves, mugs, beer koozies, and bumper stickers emblazoned with the mugshot, along with more typical merchandise such as the red "Make America Great Again" hats. No shit, really? There is nobody here with any kind of common sense that didn't know what Trump was going to do with this. Okay? We know what this is. This is a persecution. And it's nonsensical. It is nonsensical. Oh, we're not going to actually charge him with election interference. Oh, we're actually not going to try and charge him with trying to overturn the election. No, we're going to sit up there and call it RICO. We're going to try and use a RICO statute, which we just pull out of our ass, all right? And we're going to try and force this. And what's even worse is there's only one guy who they denied bail, and they're denying a public defender, and they're using the excuse of, well, he can afford it on his own, and of course the person is black, and he happens to be one of the people who is trying to investigate what really happened here. And there are reports that, oh no, they're going to move fast on this trial. They're going to move this trial. This trial is going to go in October. This trial ain't going in October. Anybody who thinks, okay, this trial is going to sit up there and kick off in October is out of their rabbit-ass mind. Now, is it possible? Right? I can hear it now. Nomad, you're not a lawyer. No, I'm not. You're not a judge. No, I'm not. I'm not an idiot either. And unless Trump's entire defense team, right, are idiots and absolute incompetence, they're not going to be either. Let me tell you what's going to happen, folks. Let me tell you the can of worms that these people, all right, have opened up on themselves. Because, see, the RICO excuse that they're using is predicated on the facts of they say Trump knew there was no problems in their election. That's the predicated notion. That Trump knew that the election was up and up. And he was falsely trying to push a narrative, all right, to sit up there and try and overturn the election. Well, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that in that anybody with any kind of freaking common sense is going to say this election wasn't on the up and up, all right, in and of itself on the face of it. And what do I mean by that? Do I mean that Trump didn't win the election or Trump won the election and overturned it? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is, okay, there are questions that have yet to be answered in any kind of transparent manner, if at all right, as to what the hell happened. Especially in Fulton County, with his latest indictment that everyone keeps talking about. Oh, this one's serious. This one's serious. That's not serious. Are you kidding me? All these election officials are running for the friggin' hills right now. Why? Because they're all going to get subpoenaed. There's something called discovery. Okay? For all those who don't understand this, Trump's lawyers have the right of interviewing people. And they don't just have to, they're not set up there and only have to be given the people that the prosecution says they're going to use. Okay? They're not subject to only what the prosecution says they can look at. Now, on the record, these people are going to be forced to answer questions like, why did you, who was it that ordered the stopping of the counting? And then they're going to have to answer, who was it that told you to go ahead and count? To continue the count. After you were told not to count, who was it that made the decision to start the count again? When all the quote-unquote minders and observers were no longer around. And that happened. That happened in Fulton County. So these people are going to be pulled out. They're going to be pulled into this, and they're going to have to testify. And then they're going to have to testify, who did you tell so that this went to the federal government? And then they're going to have to go down to, and this is the guy who told Trump, okay, or Trump's lawyers, and this guy, and they told Trump this. Because you're going to have to prove that Trump believed he knew that there was nothing wrong. Even if you come back with the lies, all right, of this is what happened here, and this is who we talk. There was nothing going on here, and I did call it lies, right? Even if you had that explanation, okay, who was told? Who did you tell? Who answered these questions? You see, most of these morons don't have a realization of what's coming down. They think that they can just go, oh no, we're gonna slice this and we're gonna dice it and we're gonna julienne fry this, and this is all gonna be brought out in court. I don't think these people have a clue what's coming down the pike on this. They're gonna be interviewing. They're gonna demand affidavits and interviews, right, with every single Fulton County officials, and those people are going to be under subpoena, and they're going to have to sit up there and get all their stories straight of who told what, when, and where. And I guarantee you, all right, that there's a lot of them that have not been heard from. And it's that is going to sit up there and hinge on this, because there are requirements, all right, for this to happen. And when this gets brought out, that the requirements, that the oversights, that all the things that were supposed to be a part of this, that were supposed to guarantee and ensure that there was no malfeasance, all right, that those things were not followed, it's all going to poke a hole in the idea that Trump knew, K with the big K, he was 100% already sure that he had lost that election, that there was no reason to doubt it. They're going to put these idiots on the stand. Hell, it wouldn't surprise me if Trump's lawyers call that DA in and ask her some freaking tough questions on the stand and put her on the stand. All these people can be hostile witnesses, all right, against Trump. And it won't make a difference because they've said so many stupid things, all right? They are all out there for this. They're going to get pilloried. And what's more is you end up with this. Giuliani claims to have scientific evidence of the 2020 fraud. Giuliani claimed to have scientific evidence that will prove his long-standing and so far baseless claims. That's a lie. All right, there is a basis for this. So you see, they use terms like baseless. All right, well, really? There's not a base for this? Then tell me, Daily Beast, tell me, who was it that stopped the count, ordered the count stopped, and who was it that ordered it to start again without the observers being informed? Who was it? Directly. I want a name. I want some names. Because, see, there's people that made decisions here that violated the rules. Okay? So they say that this is not baseless. Okay, well then tell me what, since there's no basis to this, tell me who did what where, right? Tell me why that's not a basis for saying, hey, there's evidence of some kind of voter fraud. See, then they try to cover themselves of widespread voter fraud. It doesn't have to be widespread. It only has to be in selected counties because of how the election was turned. And what's more is that term right there, widespread. Do you realize because of what they've tried to do, what these jurors or what this district attorney has tried to do, they've grabbed people from all these other states, right, to try and come in here and testify, right, to get evidence against them. Okay, well, guess what? When you say widespread and you're trying to push this widespread theory, guess what? They're going to interview people in Arizona. They're going to interview people in Pennsylvania. They've got the whole Antrim County issue, all right, that they're going to have they can bring into this case. And we know what happened in Antrim County. But they're going to have to explain exactly what it is and what they did, all right, and why these rules that were supposed to ensure election integrity were not followed, and then explain, since they weren't followed, why did you go ahead and validate those counts? Now, the Antrim County, I think that they did supposedly readjust the counts, if I remember correctly. But that leads to the next question of how could this have happened? All right, where's the evidence of this? I'm telling you, folks, there is evidence of malfeasance. Whether it's widespread enough to overturn an election, all right, that in and of itself is going to be impossible to prove. It would be very difficult to prove on its own. But that's not where we're going with this. You see, you're going to the fact that they knew that the election wasn't rigged. They already knew it wasn't rigged. Whoa. How is it that they knew that the election wasn't rigged? You're gonna have to say he knew all this evidence beforehand. What evidence? You see, you set yourselves up for an impossible task. These prosecutors did, and there is evidence of this, and there is scientific evidence. Is it conclusive? No, but it's scientific. Claims that there's widespread evidence will also clear his name after the former New York City mayor was charged alongside Donald Trump on charges relating to their attempted election interference. Oh, really? You mean the election interference that you got going on right now? Right? Answering a caller on his Sunday radio show, Giuliani promised to reveal the so-called proof at soon-to-be-announced date. There are things we didn't present then in 2020 because over the next couple of years, a lot of people did a lot of work, and we've been able to produce more witnesses that I would call scientific evidence that is very persuasive. Okay, what he's going to do is he's going to go bring in analysts, all right, that sit up there and say, here are voting trends in the past, all right, here's how they haven't happened this time. We haven't got a good explanation of why there was this shift. Okay, that in and of itself is not proof, but it is proof of something needed to be investigated, and that goes to the rub because none of it ever was. Okay. All right, let's shift gears just a little bit here. Fired Ukrainian prosecutor Shokin says Joe Biden and Hunter Biden did take bribes and were behind his ousting. Isn't that corruption alone? He says in a preview of a bombshell interview. I wonder where the Britisher, all right, since this is a British paper, maybe he's read this. Probably not, because all he trusts are hardcore left-wing sources that, well, they're up and up. All right, when it comes to this stuff. All right, the former Ukrainian prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, all right, is accusing Joe and Hunter Biden of corruption, saying that they accepted large money bribes from Burisma and were behind his firing. We know he was behind the firing. Joe Biden claimed he was behind the firing. Joe Biden was bragging that he was behind this guy's firing. Shokin, who was ousted as the Ukrainian top prosecutor in 2016, made the accusations during excerpts of an upcoming explosive interview airing on Fox News. At the time of his firing, he was investigating Burisma for corruption, where Hunter was serving on the firm's board. I don't want to deal in unproven facts, but my firm personal conviction is that, yes, that is the case. They were bribed. And guess what they have? They have a paper trail of money going into Biden and going into the Biden family. And yes, we have an account, all right, that good old Joe was using a false name, all right, to present himself and funneling classified data to his son that was classified at the time. Not that the leftists like the British would care about that, you know, because Trump's a bad guy. It's Trump. Folks, let's just get back to the normalcy. Nordstrom, Rack, and Macy's stores are ransacked by groups of thieves in California. Like I said, normalcy. Oh, the Nordstrom Rack in Riverside has been ransacked by a brand of 6 thieves who made off with thousands of dollars worth of designer handbags. The incidents come as Southern California experiences a wave of flash robberies where groups of thieves overwhelm the store's employees and security before making off with as many things as possible. Items is what it says. All right. The department store on Canyon Springs Parkway was first hit on July 10th and again just a few weeks later on August 14th. And now Macy's stores are being robbed at these high-end stores. All right? And what are the thugs doing? They're just going in there, grabbing and walking out, and no one's stopping them. No one's stopping them. And it's continuing. It just happened here in Tucson. All right? Where some homeless people walked into Walgreens, stuffed their bags full of goodies and food stuff, and walked out saying hi, and walked out. And the woman behind the tweet was like, I can't believe this. Really? I can. Wherever you put a bunch of Marxist leftists in charge, and yes, here in Tucson, I have a mayor who's a Marxist leftist. This happens. Every single time. But back to Biden. Here's something else the Britishers not gonna agree. Hunter Biden investigation. Democratic donors and Biden allies were found on David Weiss's office. At least 7 prosecutors who worked in the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office over the last several years of the Hunter Biden investigation appear to be Democrat donors. All right, a Washington Examiner analysis found. One of them appears to have previously unreported personal relationship with the Biden family. All right, at one point referring to Hunter Biden as a good friend. Now, who's David Weiss? David Weiss is the quote-unquote special prosecutor, all right, appointed by Merrick Garland. And he selected a bunch of frickin' Biden sycophants who have been reporting to Biden everything that they've been doing. And then they tried to deny it. Oh, no, that hasn't been happening. Oh, really? Who's this guy? How come he didn't report that he considered Biden, Hunter Biden, his girlfriend? Why would you put somebody on there to investigate that has such an obvious bias? And no one's asking these questions of David Weiss. I would be taking that son of a bitch, pulling him right in there and said, you hired somebody that you knew, sir, all right, was a good friend of the Bidens. In fact, did you ever vet any of these people? And if he says, I vetted them, then you have to explain why you chose to take donors to these people and put them on the investigative teams. And it's not going to wash. Well, they have a good reputation. Oh, just like good old Stork, right? Peter Stork. Just like Comey. I'm going to hide behind a curtain, Comey. Like Christopher Wray. I would pull Christopher Wray in. And I would sit up there and go, okay, is this normal to sit up there and take good friends of somebody and say he's going to be the prosecutor for him if the Republican? And if that's the case, who was it when you were investigating Trump, all right, that were similar to that? I would take this, I would pull them all out one at a time. All right, who was it? Who was the Trump supporter, all right, that was giving money to the Trump team that you had in your investigative office? I would bring them in and then say, how come these people are doing things differently for this guy than this guy? I would do this thing all the way down the line to prove how corrupt these SOBs really are. Because they are, folks. They're horrifically corrupt. Back to California. Outrage in Oakland as wild video shows a woman being violently dragged on the ground during an armed robbery. Shocking video has emerged of a woman being pistol whipped and dragged across the gravel by two thugs in Democrat-led, not Democrat, it's Democrat-controlled Oakland. Democrat has controlled Oakland for decade upon decade upon decade. All right, we're talking close to a century now. As the city grapples with a surging crime wave. Really? The attack happened last Wednesday, August 16th, at 6:15 on International Boulevard and left an unidentified woman with severe injuries. Police are investigating in the East Bay. Footage shows the woman being confronted by two men who tried to grab several things from her, including her purse, before she's violently struck with a gun. She is seen falling to the ground before being pulled along by her purse by both men rifle through her pockets. All right, the attackers are both on the run, and the woman's condition as of Tuesday was unknown. This latest incident is an example of a violent crime running rampant across the Democrat-led city. No shit, really? How about the Democrat-led state? It's not the city that this is going across. It's the entire friggin' state. So why is this happening? We all know why it's happening. Let's go overseas for a little bit. Targeted counties, yes. Atlanta was one of the pretty obvious ones cheating. Wayne County and Detroit, yep. Because if you take a look at when all the counts started stopping, they all stopped about the same time, including here in Arizona. They're gonna ask that question. How is that possible? How is it possible that the counts all stopped at the same fucking time? Pardon me. Friggin' time. But anyway, back to this. Sadiq Khan under fire after his website depicts white people as not representative of real Londoners. Sadiq Khan, the first non-white mayor. What color is he? He's not white. What is it? Serious question. What race is Sadiq Khan? I'm just curious. Is he Asian? Do you consider him Asian? Do you consider that another race? Like he's an Asian? Is he black? Is he a Native American? Is he a native somewhere? All right. Anyway, Sadiq Khan, the first non-white mayor of London, is now under fire. This is after his website seemingly depicts white people as not representative of real Londoners. Following that, most people or users feel that this is a racist comment against the native British people. Historically, the English are generally white. Historically, generally white? No, they're pretty freaking white. Hey, Sean. Welcome. The Daily Mail states Sadiq Khan found himself embroiled in a contentious dispute as his official website posted a photograph of a young white family alongside the statement, "Doesn't represent real Londoners." If anything, I think that the thing that says seemingly depicts, it doesn't seemingly depict. All right, it flat out states it. You gotta love the British and the way they understate things. Oh, but this is just seemingly. Oh God, let's go bounce back to the U.S. again because I just feel like bouncing back and forth today. Justice Department brings wave of cases over $836 million in alleged COVID fraud from the Washington Post. In one of the largest national crackdowns on fraud targeting federal coronavirus aid, the Justice Department on Wednesday said it brought 718 law enforcement actions in connection with the alleged theft of more than $836 million. We're going to sit up there, and yet, you know what this is? This is all against the individual criminal, right? Not against the bigger criminals called the healthcare industry. Okay. How many hospitals did you bring this against? Okay. Federal prosecutors said in May that they indicted 30 individuals believed to have been tied to a Milwaukee street gang, all right, alleging that they had improperly obtained federal benefits for out-of-work Americans to purchase guns, drugs, jewelry, and solicit murder for hire. Officials said they also took action against a New Jersey man accused of filing more than 1,000 false tax returns, allegedly in a bid to claim roughly $124 million in federal tax credits that was supposed to help small businesses retain their workers. Once again, okay, folks, once again, how come you're not charging all the hospitals that claimed that the deaths were from COVID when deaths were people who, yes, they were quote unquote positive for COVID, but their symptoms were long before COVID and they died of those symptoms, such as heart attacks and everything else, long before they had COVID. Like, a motorcycle accident. Blunt trauma force, which we know happened, which we know was claimed. What we don't know, quite frankly, because in the quote unquote we're going to be transparent about this. What we don't know in their constant discussion of transparency is how they differentiated from dying from COVID and dying with COVID. And we don't know what guidelines were given to the hospitals for reporting those deaths. Why? Because we have a suspicion that they weren't. That they weren't told what the differences were. That they just sit up there and let anybody who died, if they happen to test positive for COVID, somewhere along the lines, by the way, that they died of COVID. that they were a COVID death, and therefore they got money. Like it's been pointed out repeatedly that the number of people who died from flu during the COVID crisis went to near zero, according to the CDC's own reporting. Went to near zero. When literally tens of thousands of people each year die of respiratory illnesses related to the flu, that all disappeared during COVID completely. It's amazing. Staying in this. Allegedly, some people were killed in hospitals for COVID. I don't think that anybody was intentionally killed just so that they could claim extra funds for COVID. I don't believe that. Okay. Do I believe that there could have been nefarious things happening? Yes. Do I think that people were killed from COVID and died of COVID? Yes, I do believe that COVID was deadly to some people. I never said that it wasn't. But it doesn't help matters when areas like the CDC, okay, put out statements that are proven false, and then when the investigation, okay, let me put out say something right now. If you're a grown up, if you're an adult, you were expected to understand this simple nuance, that there is a difference between being wrong and lying. Okay? There's a difference between going forward with something, thinking you're correct, and intentionally being deceitful. And I have mentioned the difference between this, okay, when I've talked about the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. And people don't want to hear about this. They want to just sit up there and make false claims. I have said this about the chemical weapons, all right, in Iraq. That people were being intentionally deceitful or not in most cases. And I think that the idea that just because a person is wrong doesn't necessarily go against their character in the sense of yes, you can be wrong, all right, and you have to admit that you were wrong. Now, in the case that we're talking about with the CDC, the first part of the CDC was relying upon the quote unquote, all right, models that they had created for COVID. Okay? Because you didn't have actual data, especially when it came to the vaccines. It was all about models for the vaccines. Hey, Chris. Welcome. When it came to COVID, it was all about the models. The CDC was relying upon models. Now, my problem with the CDC came about when they were receiving reports and they had already compiled reports internally and were having discussions internally about how the vaccine did not seem to be exceptionally effective in preventing the spread of COVID cases. Okay? So you had a vaccine that they had claimed, okay, was stopping the spread of COVID, and all of a sudden, in the state of Massachusetts, which had over a 70% compliance with all the COVID shots at the time, it's even higher now, but at the time, the statewide was over 70%, and yet there was data coming in that these people were still catching COVID. Now, the problem begins when the CDC continued to make the statement, oh no, these vaccines will stop the spread of COVID, when you already knew and had hard data to the contrary. And they did everything they could to prevent that data from going public. And when whistleblowers published that data, okay, the first thing that came out, and this includes on YouTube, with you YouTube monitors, I'm sure you're going to love probably giving me a strike for this, right? You guys in the YouTube community sit up there and listen straight to the CDC, and they said, oh no, those initial reports were lies. And there was COVID misinformation. And it turns out that not only weren't they lies, that the ones who just said that were the CDC. And yet I have yet to see, all right, YouTube and you guys in the YouTube freaking community admit to that. There's a difference between being deceitful and being wrong. People forgive people when they're wrong. When they admit that they were wrong. If you still think that you were all right by making the statements that you did at the time, when you know that those statements were based on falsehoods already, what does that say about you and your character? Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing it up because we're back into the whole, we got this new COVID thing and we need another shot. Could the shot be effective? Yeah, the shot may be effective against it. This new strain. I don't know. I'm still waiting for some real freaking data, all right, of actual data from patients that the CDC is relying upon to demonstrate to me that these things are working. What is wrong with that? With giving us the actual hard data? Why is it they constantly try to parse these things? And one of the things that went to is one of the reasons that's been destroyed is people's belief in the CDC has been absolutely destroyed as a result of their actions. Yes, people will sit up there and understand mistakes are made. We understand people are human. But you haven't even come clear. You haven't even come clean, okay, with what you've actually said and apologized for it. Nobody likes being wrong, and everybody feels the humiliation when you apologize. Unless apparently you're part of the freaking federal government or in YouTube, the YouTube monitors, because they never say a sorry to anybody. But why am I bringing this up? Well, I'm bringing this up because of a stupid announcement, all right, made by Gavin Newsom from California. You know, the guy who claimed that the new studies prove that the major cause of death in children, okay, are guns. Well, really? So what do we have here? Well, we have the very article from the New England Journal of Medicine that sits up there and shows, I don't know if you guys can see this table. I'll try to expand it a little bit. That shows you the cause of death. And you have motor vehicle crashes above firearms. And with firearms, you have 126 unintentional, 50 undetermined. So let's add those to the unintentional, just to put them in a category. All right. 1,102 are suicide. Well, okay, but it's a suicide. Would it make any difference if they jumped off a cliff? Okay. And then you have 1,865 that were listed, okay, as homicide. But then as you come down through this, they are classifying children and adolescents as 1 year to 19 years old. Well, wait a minute. So in other words, you've already skewed this data by adding 2 years worth of adulthood to it. 2 years worth. By the way, if you go down a little bit further, you see this suffocation is at 1,430, where 1,110 were suicide and 235 were quote unquote unintentional. Now, what's an unintentional suffocation? I'm just curious what they classify as that. Does that mean they were in an area where the oxygen got taken out? So basically, like a car was running and they didn't realize the car was running, so they died of asphyxiation that way? Is that what they're classifying? It's possible. I'm just curious. But you have 1,110 are suicides. Funny that there's more suicides from frickin' suffocation than there is of frickin' guns. And you still think, Mr. Newsom, that your problem is guns. Now, why else am I bringing this up? I'm also bringing this up because of a Twitter post. Okay? And the Twitter post that I'm talking about, all right, is related to LeBron James. LeBron James came out and said that his son, Bronny, that the incident with his heart attack or his heart stopping was due to a congenital heart condition. Okay? And so a certain influencer on Twitter, Ed Krasenson, tried to sit up there and go, this proves that you guys were just all full of shit about, it's the COVID shot and everything else. And I'm like, well, first of all, the veracity of LeBron James is in question. Sorry. LeBron James is a known liar. I don't wish any ill on him or his family, but LeBron James is a known liar. Okay? The guy's been known to lie to try and cover up and try and pretend to be things that he isn't. Okay? We know this. If you follow him, you will see people where they talk about LaFraud all the time. It's well documented. Now, in this case, is he lying? I don't know. But I do find it difficult to believe that a congenital heart condition was not discovered early on with LeBron James's son, considering the number of physicals that he was required to take and the medical officials that were responsible for his health throughout his high school and into college career that he had to take, that somehow a congenital heart condition, okay, and all the years of basketball that this guy had gone through where the symptoms never appeared, they never portrayed themselves, they never came out, but all of a sudden he's playing basketball on the gym and just his heart just stops in the middle of nowhere. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's something else. And the one reason I'm bringing this up has nothing is to hope that LeBron James, if it, regardless of what has happened to this man and his son, that Bronny takes his health seriously and doesn't get talked into doing something, okay, that endangers his health. Because I know the internal pressures you can place on yourself to do something stupid, and it's not worth it. Now we don't know anything more than the quote unquote statement that was put out by LeBron James. They said that they're giving him drugs and that there's medication and that he's managing it. I don't know enough about the different medical conditions, or nor did they say what drugs and medications that he's being prescribed. Okay. So I have my doubts. That's all. But I'm hoping for the best for this young man. And I feel for him because his father wanted to play basketball with him in the NBA. He really wanted to be a father, the first father-son team to play on the same team, to play with his son. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Maybe it will, but frankly, I in many cases, if it does happen, I hope that everything goes well. All right, back to the who saw this coming. Russia-Ukraine war live. The Wagner leader Yevgeny, my best pronunciation, Prigozhin, all right, aboard a plane involved in a fatal crash. The Russian Civil Aviation Authority said, according to the TASS news agency, reported by Reuters, and this was on the August 23rd. The Russian Civil Aviation Authority said that Prigozhin's, the leader of the Wagner mercenary group, was on a list of passengers in a plane that went down, and there were, quote unquote, no survivors. So, if you attempt to kill the king and you fail, and you go back to Mother Russia, I'm just pointing out the Russians have a long history of what happens to you when you try to take down the king and fail. Okay? If you don't take the king out, it's not survivable. Okay? You either become the king or get your pine box ready. This guy attempted a coup. It royally failed. And it failed for a lot of reasons. Okay? And some of them are typically Russian. But it failed for a lot of reasons. But the idea that somehow this guy Prigozhin was going to survive this, okay, the only way that I saw that there's a possibility that he survived this would be if he had done this in conjunction with Vladimir. And I realize this is a conspiracy theory, folks. This is truly a conspiracy theory. If Prigozhin had sparked this coup, but it wasn't really a sparked coup, it was done as a feint to draw out the detractors of Putin so he could get rid of other problems. All right? Like a double blind here. Now, I never believed that. I have heard that theory, though. Right? And this indicates that, nope, this was actually an attempted coup. And for those of you who think that I'm just blowing smoke, who don't understand what I'm talking about, all you have to do is take a look at the long history, all right, even recent history of the Soviet Union and of Russia, right? Trotsky come to mind? Anybody? Stalin actually had assassins chase Trotsky not just out of Russia, not just out of Europe. He had those assassins chase Trotsky all the way into Mexico, where they finally caught him and killed him. Okay? There was nowhere in the world that the Prigozhin was going to be able to go and survive this. Not in Belarus, all right? Not in Germany. You don't kill the king, you're done for. Okay? Just putting it out there. Huh, interesting. Workers in Disney World District criticized DeSantis' appointee's decision to eliminate free passes. Huh! Amazing. Employees of the Walt Disney's governing district on Wednesday confronted new board members appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis over a decision to eliminate their access to free passes and discounts to the theme park resort, saying it makes the parks on visits unaffordable. Really? So, for all of you who were getting an obvious benefit, and I'll bet it wasn't placed on your taxes anywhere as far as a monetized benefit, that it's now unaffordable to you. Really? What a surprise! That they're bleeding the turnips and they're saying, gee, this is taxable. You're no longer going to get a non-taxable Benny. If you want to sit up there and spend your money, well then, good. They had two choices. Make this taxable or take away the benefit. No matter which decision they made, these people were going to get screwed. And don't get me wrong. Okay, I want people to understand. I don't want people to misunderstand it. Disney parks are unaffordable for everybody. And these people are getting screwed. Do not misunderstand me. Especially these firefighters who have been freaking working for shit. And that have been working in this special district. They are getting screwed. But what they never realized was just how much it costs a single person to go to Disney World. Or even Disneyland for that matter. I have no sympathy for these people. They are getting screwed, but I don't have sympathy for them. Because for decades and decades and decades upon decades, they were living the high life. The La Vida Loca over everybody else. They were able to get things done. And what did they do? Did they keep the parks up? Did they keep things running smoothly? Did they do anything that helped out the average guy with all this? No. They took advantage of it. They took advantage of the situation, and they took advantage of all the park goers that sit up there and had to pay their good money. Meanwhile, they drove that place into a frickin' woke hell, where the Disney princesses like Cinderella are running around with beards on. Okay? Sorry, not all that sympathetic with you. Really not. I know people are like, all right, you can't do this. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, speaking of Atlanta, folks, activists are furious that Democrat leaders haven't denounced the plan to check every Stop the Cop signature. Georgia activists against the proposed police and firefighting training center have called on Democratic senators to denounce Atlanta's plan to check every signature on the petition to put the issue to the voters. The line-by-line review would ensure that the signatures match what officials have on file, said officials in the Democrat-led city, drawing praise from the head of the Georgia Republican Party and condemnation from voting rights groups. See, proving who you are is something to be denied. All right? These officials don't have started to come to the conclusion, oh shit, we're on the hook for this. Yeah, because they can take the time. Unlike voting by mail, where there's literally too many people voting by mail to be able to truly validate these signatures in any kind of reasonable manner. It's one of my reasons why I think mail-in voting is rife with fraud. Why? Because it's impossible for you to verify who that ballot came from. And I say that because it's impossible to truly check the signatures to ensure the ballot is valid. It's impossible to do it in any kind of timely manner. Have you watched an actual person, all right, utilize the techniques that it takes to truly sit up there and authenticate a signature? You can't do it in less than 10 seconds. You can't even do it in less than a minute. They examine those things with a freaking magnifying glass to see if where they can find commonalities to sit up there and say, okay, yeah, we believe this signature was this. And they're using multiple signatures to do it. There's no authenticator worth his salt that would ever say, yeah, that signature looks like this just after 10 seconds of looking at the thing. Not one. You take a look at the people who are doing records checks, all right, for documents, right, to say whether or not a document truly is the signature of some historical figure. You can watch how they do it. They do not walk in there and just keep hitting the button as quickly as possible, saying, yeah, it's valid, yeah, it's valid, yeah, it's valid. Which is something that was proven to happen here in Arizona. It's one of the reasons why I say what I say. That was actually evidenced in court. They actually brought that in court and showed it. So if somebody sits there and says I'm wrong about that, well, okay, then that video evidence that was shown in court was wrong. It was somehow doctored with. It wasn't real. Common sense tells you that the mail-in voting is a bad idea. Common sense, right? Anybody who sits up there and says that mail-in voting isn't rife with fraud is just an idiot. Okay, because you can't check the signatures. There's no way to validate. All right, there's no way to authenticate that ballot. There's no way that you're going to create a record of where that ballot is from day to day to day. So you really don't know where that ballot came from. It's not secure enough. That's what I've always said. But now they're doing a line-by-line review. I wonder why that these activists are all bent out of shape because they're doing a line-by-line search. Why? Why would you protest that? If these signatures are all valid, why would you protest it? Could it possibly be because your signature verifications are fraudulent? Or that you're worried that there's a lot of fraudulent signatures there? And that somehow your attempt to put it on the ballot is going to fail because you couldn't get enough signatures? Is that why? Could that possibly be the reason? If it's all on the up and up, what's your problem? This is just to put something on the ballot. See, and I'll tell you what the problem is, folks. The problem is they don't know how many signatures they actually need. Because we do know this. There are going to be signatures that are going to be invalidated. We don't know how many. We honestly don't. But that's just the way things are with these things. Right? There are all these petitions. I've seen them go through here in Arizona. So many of them are going to be invalidated. And if too many of them are invalidated, then what's going to happen is you're not going to get the issue on the ballot. But as far as Cop City goes, you can put as many signatures as you want on that thing. That's not Cop City is still going to go through. I guarantee you. How many people saw this story? U.S. wildlife officials stunned, they say, by the environmental damage of a SpaceX explosion. The explosion left a 1 mile by 1 mile debris field. That's 360 acres. It's about that, right? Just a little bit over 360 acres. 360 acres is a mile by mile square, so people would understand. All right, debris field, all right, that flung concrete chunks as far as 2,680 feet from the launch pad and sparked a 3.5-acre state park fire. United States wildlife officials were reportedly taken aback by the environmental damage they witnessed when they visited the site in Texas, where one of billionaire Elon Musk's space rockets exploded earlier this year. The Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, SpaceX, all right, rocket exploded after lifting off from the company's facility in Boca Chica, Texas, in April, burning almost 4 acres of a state park and dropping huge chunks of concrete that created craters a foot deep, Bloomberg reported. Don't you love how they say, this person reported? Not we witnessed. Not that Zachary Rogers says he witnessed, the guy who wrote this story. Wildlife officials questioned at the time if they were being blocked from the explosion site after they were unable to view the area for 48 hours had passed, according to communication records obtained by Bloomberg. No shit, really? Let me explain something so people understand this. You, as a wildlife official, are not someone who's necessarily trained in biohazards. And when you have an explosion of a rocket, all right, there's all sorts of possible chemicals that you don't want people to be exposed to if they don't know how to go into those areas safely. So yeah, you keep people away that have no freaking business being involved in, oh my God, we got to make sure that there's no toxicity in the area. There are going to be some quote-unquote wildlife officials who are prevented from going in. No shit. Notice they didn't say environmental officials. They called them wildlife officials. The resulting explosion left a 385-acre debris field that flung concrete chunks as far as 2,680 feet from the launch pad and sparked a 3.5-acre fire. Okay. As a comparison, okay, 3 acres is about 4 houses, standalone houses. Okay? Maybe a little bit more. Okay? I'm not trying to minimize this, but I'm not trying to blow this into something that it isn't either. The problem that they're not talking about with the SpaceX rocket that went up, they talk about the explosion of the rocket. That is not the issue. Okay? And I want people to understand this. That wasn't the issue. Them blowing up the rocket that had gone off course wasn't the issue. The issue was that the pad all right, didn't survive. That the launch pad was totally destroyed. Because supposedly the design that they had accounted for this kind of a disaster. That's where the problem with this was. Is somebody had made a mistake in how this was designed. And they tried to make it sound as if, oh my God, this is the end of the world and the state park got destroyed. The state park is fine. Debris over a square mile around the pad. Okay, that's that's not good. I'll admit, but it's not the end of the freaking world either. Alrighty, folks. This goes into the F around and find out category. Let's pop this on up here and let's just watch this little video from Twitter. This woman slugs the police officer. Another police officer tries to grab her, and she continues to swing, and boom, down she goes. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! You just assaulted a police officer, and then you assaulted him twice, and down goes Frazier! Why did this woman think she can slug this officer and not get arrested with a felony charge? It's amazing the entitlement from some people. I've tried to explain to people several times, okay, that the purpose of the police isn't what too many of these idiots think they are. That the purpose of the police is not, the primary purpose is not to serve and protect. The purpose of the police is to ensure public order. Okay? That's their primary purpose. It's not to guarantee your rights. It's not to protect your rights. Insurance of protection of your rights comes through the courts, by the way, not the police. Understand this. The primary purpose of police is public order. Just like the primary purpose of prisons, okay, isn't, no matter what anybody thinks, isn't rehabilitation. The primary purpose of prison is to isolate people that society, through whatever judicial system they're utilizing, has said is a threat to their society, is to isolate them from that society. That's true of our prison system. It's true of the prison system in Norway. It's true of the prison system in China and Russia as well. Now, who they decide is a threat and how they decide that's a threat, all those things can differ. And do, obviously. But the purpose of the police is to ensure order, that the population has order, not to keep you as the individual safe, not to protect you as the individual. Too many people forget that. And just like with the prisons, just like this case right here, Sam Bankman-Fried, this is the guy who's on trial for his FTX funding of the Democrat Party through his Bitcoin kind of thing. Not Bitcoin, but you know what I mean. Cryptocurrency, I guess the word I'm looking for. Cryptocurrency, which Bitcoin is a type. It wasn't in this one. It wasn't Bitcoin per se. Cryptocurrency. Sam Bankman-Fried living on bread and water because the jail won't abide vegan diet, says lawyers. Really? So he doesn't get to eat whatever he wants in prison. Oh, no. The attorney for the FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried said in federal court Tuesday his client has to subsist on bread, water, and peanut butter in jail because he isn't accommodating it's not accommodating his vegan diet. So what? That's his choice. Okay? He's made a personal choice not to eat meat. If he wants to make it a moral choice, that's a him problem. There's no obligation that the jails serve him, all right, what he wants to eat. Bankman-Fried, 31, the former billionaire and co-founder of failed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, appeared in a Manhattan federal court where he pleaded not guilty to 7 counts. A superseding indictment charged him with wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering that defrauded customers of FTX and lenders to his cryptocurrency hedge fund. Some of those he was found innocent of. Defense attorney Mark Cohen said that Bankman-Fried is not getting his prescribed Adderall, which helps him focus, and he's not getting a vegan diet, so he's had to subsist on bread and water with some peanut butter. No, he doesn't. I'm sure that there's a frickin' pork chop with his frickin' name on it that he flings around towards somebody else. How much do you want to bet she's a BLM supporter? We're not going to talk about that other woman. This guy basically is a scam artist. And he bilked billions out of people, funded his wonderful, glorious lifestyle while he stood up there and funded the frickin' Democratic machine. To no end. To no frickin' end. And now he's going to be, hey, they're giving me my rice and my pudding pops. Greetings, Shrapnel. Welcome. I'm sorry, but your broccoli pudding top isn't on the menu today. No, you don't get your yogurt. Sorry, but there's no lattes being served to you in federal prison. This guy's bitching about a vegan. They're not accommodating his chosen vegan diet. That's like Joe Arpaio when he got sued because he got sued because he had served regular peanut butter rather than crunchy that had been requested. Not joking. You can look it up if you don't believe it. So some more sporting news around the world. Spanish FA chief Luis Rubiales is, and I'm not trying to butcher your name, sir, right, is suspended hours after he threatened to sue footballer Gina Hermoso, right, over the World Cup kiss lies in an extraordinary statement. The Spanish FA president Luis Rubiales has been provisionally suspended, all right, after he threatened to sue footballer Gini Hermoso amid World Cup kiss lies. In an extraordinary statement released today, the crisis-ridden organization has confirmed that Rubiales has now been barred from all football-related activities at the national and international level for 90 days. Rubiales has been banned from making any contact with Hermalis and her close environment, all right, with no further information being revealed until a final decision is made. So what am I talking about? People don't know. This is a Spanish official who was congratulating the Spanish women's team for winning the World Cup and kissed on the lips one of the players. Right. So why are Nomad? Why are you bringing this up? What the hell's wrong with you? Women's World Cup. What the hell's happening to you? I can hear it now. All right. Steak and potatoes, Maybe you should ask for steak and potatoes. Let's see if some people can get their prime rib when they ordered it in jail. Anyway, back to this. Here's my problem with all of this. And it's a problem that goes back to how we view sexual assault in this country. Okay? The term sexual assault is far, far, far too broad. Harassment is one thing. Assault is another. Okay? And I draw a distinction between them. I don't know if you guys could hear that stupid thing going on in the background. Probably could. So I put a stop to it. If a guy kisses a woman unwantedly on the lips, okay, is that an assault? When does it become an assault? When the woman decides it's an assault? You can't have that as a standard. Okay? That's the problem. Is there's a gray area here that you can't use as a standard and say, well, it's the woman's choice. And I say that because individuals can make up whatever it is in their own minds as to what's going on. So my personal standard is, in a reasonable scenario, is this person harmed? Okay? Is this person under threat? No, she didn't want to get kissed by this guy, and that's official, and she may not have. She has options that she could have sit up there and done. She could have sit up there and pushed him away, saying, "How dare you do that to me?" She could have slapped him on the face and humiliated him. Because if you're saying that it humiliates her, okay, then she has, what's wrong with him being humiliated a little bit? This idea that we got to walk on eggshells because of people can't act like adults and can't say, wait a minute, I'm not really harmed by this. So we get to the point where people go, oh, they threw a paper wad at me. Oh, a spit wad. It's a heinous crime. We're all going to die. It needs to go away. Now, can you come back and say that this guy acted inappropriately? All right. Fine. You want to sit up there and suspend him? Fine. For what he did? Yeah. Now, I will say this. If he threatened her after the fact, yeah, you stepped way over the line, dude. You should be barred. But as far as people going, that's sexual assault, he assaulted her, he needs to go to prison. No, come on, folks. Enough is enough with this nonsense. Enough is enough. Speaking as of enough is enough, GOP talk of military action in Mexico sparks dire warnings. Oh no. From the Hill. Rising GOP support for the U.S. taking unilateral military action in Mexico against drug cartels is increasingly rattling people on both sides of the border who worry talk of an attack is getting normalized. Really? That's what's worrying you? Wednesday's Republican presidential primary debate featured high-stakes policy disagreements on a range of issues from abortion to the environment, but found near unanimous consensus on the idea of using the American military force to fight drug smuggling and migration. Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, made the strongest pledge on stage with his response to Fox News moderator Martha McCallum, all right, asking whether he would support sending U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take out fentanyl labs to take out drug cartel operations. And he said, yes, I will do it on day one, DeSantis said. Okay. Bullshit! Okay? There's no freaking way DeSantis is going to do anything like that. If you're serious about stopping the immigration, if you're serious about dealing with these drug cartels, what you do is you sit up there and say, this now is a freaking DMZ. This now is a demilitarized zone we patrol and we sit up there and have total control over. That's how you would move in the military. And if Mexico don't like it, well, then the big badass Mexican government and the Mexican army, all right, along with the drug cartels, because they're all the same thing, folks, can take on the U.S. military and we can exterminate you guys, all right, as a threat to the United States. But going in there to try and quote unquote blow up fentanyl labs, to go over there and say, well, we're going to blow up this or that or do these pinpoint targeted strikes, don't work. Seize a mile inside of Mexico, claim it's a no man's land, and patrol it. And if the rest of the world wants to get on their high horses, you can sit up there and say, you know what? Before you fix our problem here, go fix frickin' the Ukraine, because we're pulling out. All the funds we've used for spending money in the Ukraine can now be freaking reallocated along that border for a military operation to put an end to this illegal immigration crisis we got going on in this country until the country's immigration is stabilized. DeSantis can't even sit up there and handle the LGBTQ freaking people bitching about the what he's doing to poor Disney. How the hell is he going to stop the drug cartel? Well, we're gonna rid out those drug cartels. Yeah. And who are you going to get the information from? Well, we're going to put it in special force. But how do you mind? We're going to send assassin squads from the United States because that's what they'll be called, folks. They'll be calling them assassin squads. Is that what you want? You want to move in troops and things like that and sit up there and be called where these special forces operations are going to be called assassin squads? Because that is exactly what you tried to do down in frickin' Ecuador. That's what you tried to do in El Salvador. That's what you tried to do in all sorts of areas in Central America and Latin America in the past. And how well has that worked out? Sherardi, blowing up powder? Sounds like a chance of death and hallucinating. Okay, I have said this many times. Another thing I've said, and I'm serious about this too. You tell the Mexican government, all right, to stop sending their drugs over. And if they don't stop sending their drugs over, we'll start sending over ours. And before people go, well, what are you talking about? All you got to do is go over with a freaking B-52 bomber, like 5 or 6 of them, all right, wing to wingtip, with spray canisters spraying out LSD. Okay? And what's the other one? Not paraquat. What is the word I'm looking for? PCP. Just go out there and dust every freaking major city repeatedly, all right, with that shit until they stop sending these sons of bitches over to us. You don't like our drugs? Stop sending yours. That's another effective way to fix this issue. Well, that's unbelievable. What are you saying, no man? What are you saying? The innocent people in America are dying left and right. So don't come back whining and bitching to me about innocent people being killed. That's happening left and right over here. Do you understand? In a war, okay, the people being used as human shields, all right, die. That there's no way to fight a war, all right, and sit up there and prevent people who don't want to be involved in the war from getting involved. It's going to happen. There's no niceness to this. There is no let's save everyone aspect to this. My war on drugs would be a real war on drugs. Speaking of a war, how many people saw this? As fight over AI artwork unfolds, this is from the New York Times, folks. All right, judge rejects copyright claim. A federal judge dismissed an inventor's attempt to copyright artwork produced by an image generator he designed. But more legal challenges are on the way. A federal judge rejected an attempt to copyright an artwork generated by artificial intelligence in a decision last week that provided insight into the broader legal war over authorship and intellectual property. The case was unique because I can hear you, but they can't at the moment. All right, just hold on. All right, the case was unique because the inventor, named Stephen Thaler, all right, listed his computer system as the artwork's creator, arguing that a copyright should be issued and transferred to him as the machine's owner. After the U.S. Copyright Office repeatedly rejected his request, Thaler sued the agency's director. Plaintiff can point to no case in which a court has recognized copyright in a work originating from a non-human. Beryl A. Howell of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia wrote in her decision. Okay, now there's two things about this that I want people to understand. Okay. First of all, this woman is a liar. Okay? This woman judge is a liar. Now, why am I making that point? Okay? I'm making that point because the U.S. Patent Office, which I realize might be quote unquote technically different, did issue a patent created for electronic circuits, okay, to a group like this. All right? So hold on, Sherrod. I wasn't ignoring you. I was just getting ready to let you on. All right? So come back, Sherrod, if you're listening. They did sit up there and issue a patent on it. Okay? They did issue a patent to an electronic circuit that was computer generated. And you can say it wasn't AI, but they did issue a patent. So to say that there's no case where this can be looked at, this woman, this federal judge is wrong. They can do this. Go ahead, Sherrod. What were you going to say? You can speak. Speak, Sherrod. Speak. Are you speaking? Because I can't hear you. If you're speaking, Sherrod, are you speaking, Sherrod? There now.
Yeah.
Okay, speak away. What is it you want?
Quit interrupting me, you ignorant old fuck. I didn't say war on drugs. I said drug wars. They pass them here, we pass them there. And then you said spray them all over them.
Yeah.
I said drug wars 2.0. That's it.
Oh, that's all you're trying to... Okay. All right. If that's it,
earlier
that's
today
pretty
you were
mild.
talking about sexual assault.
Yeah, I was.
And I have no problem if a guy takes and kisses a girl. That's not sexual assault. Oh my God, heaven forfend, he kissed me.
If she didn't
For
want
the
it and
first,
slapped him back, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing wrong there either.
nope.
Okay, so I want people to be very clear about that. But now back to this case here, where we're talking about AI stuff. Okay,
Oh,
the plaintiff can point to no case in which a court has recognized copyrighted work originated with a non-human. You're wrong. All right, I can point to a case. Okay, I literally can. Okay, so like I said, there were circuits that were created, all right, that were patented. Okay, so her statement saying that they can't point to this, they're wrong about that. Now, similar rules about human authorship have been used to decide who owns a monkey's selfie. Thaler created the artwork in question, a recent entrance to paradise, a lush but pixelated scene of train tracks running through a countryside in 2012. Right, Thaler's lawyer said he would appeal the ruling and characterized the legal debates as a critical part of the public's discourse. I will agree with that. The problem with this is who is this going to affect? How is this going to be? How is this going to be decided? We don't know. Okay, because there's conflicting rulings in very similar areas, but not similar areas in a variety of things. For example, okay, is it legal to put genes together and then patent that gene that you put together? The answer to that is yes. Okay, that has been decided in court. Can you
what is
take human genetic material and patent it? In other words, take a cell from yourself and patent it as your own genetic material. The answer to that legally at this point is no. At least not in the United States, anyway.
doesn't stop them from doing it.
It doesn't stop them from trying. That's true. Okay. So there is an issue in that regard. Now, as far as AI generated artwork, the question comes down to transformation. Is it transformative? Did somebody do something that made whatever that was there transformative? If you're going to come back and say, well, people's work looks similar, but is it transformative from the meaning of the art that the individual is working with at that time? If it's transformative, technically, okay, it's not your artwork, so therefore it can't be patented. And if it can't be patented or copyrighted, rather, not patented, but copyrighted, wrong term. In those instances, if there's no copyright restriction in those cases, then you run the risk of saying, okay, well then anything that's computer generated, even if it sounds similar, if it's transformative in nature, you have no recourse. So all these artists bitching about AI won't have any recourse unless they can sit up there and prove that the artwork that they're bitching at isn't transformative from the artwork that they created. You have a problem here, folks. The person, Thayer's lawyer, is right in this case. These decisions are going to have to get made. This is the problem with the entire judicial system, to be honest, is the fact that they're making decisions with outdated mindsets from people who do not understand the ramifications of the technology on decisions that they've made. This is one of the reasons why I tried to explain to people that the whole purpose of a copyright was to allow people to sit up there and make money from their individual and initial artwork and their initial things, like dances, like pictures, like songs.
I'm
But
a
it was
bit biased on this in more
well,
than one way.
or programs. The problem with that is the reason that they were given the kind of latitude instead of just like a patent, where a patent is only good for 7 years and you can ask for another 7 years for a patent, right? The reason you only get 14 years total, all right, is to make money is because people said, well, this is a product everybody needs, so therefore you've got 14 years, all right, to make your money and become the leader in this arena. So sit up there and make your money and get done with it. But the reason that wasn't applied to books, the reason it wasn't applied to songs and written material like that, was because back in the day, distribution and production of that distribution, all right, was enormously expensive. The risks of putting a book out, the risks of publishing a song, the costs involved in spinning that up were massive. And you had no guarantee for the publisher. That publisher had no guarantee of return on investment. Okay? And the risks that they were taking were tremendous because of the cost of distribution. But the cost of distribution today is the cost of an electron. Okay? So the distribution costs are negligible now. Technology has changed the overall environment in this case. And the laws regarding copyrights, regarding patents, need to catch up with the reality of today. And I'm sorry if the ideas of saying, okay, well, I wrote this book and I should be able to sit up there and make money on it in perpetuity, and you should, it's because the way it's always has been. Well, guess what? The buggy whip makers wanted the buggy whips to stick around too. And that's why you end up with situations like this right now, folks. Studios reveal the new AI data transparency and residual proposals to the WGA. The guild meets with the CEOs. And what did they do? Is the AMPTP, all right, which I'm not sure what that frickin' stands for. It's basically the studios, though. All right. Met together, and what did they offer? These WGA, they offered them limits to AI. They offered them limits to bringing in other groups, right? They offered them a pay raise to over $11,000 a week for these writers, with a guarantee, I think, of 4 to 5 weeks minimum. And these F-tards said, well, what about the writers, the number of writers in the writers' room? We want a mandatory 20 people in the writers' room. And they were told no. And so they said, well, the strike continues. Think about that, folks. They were offered $11,000 a week with a guaranteed minimum of 5 weeks. That's $55,000, all right, for a month's worth of work guaranteed to these people, and they said it wasn't enough. And what's the result? Is you had a situation that happened in California, surprise, surprise. The IATSE offices close after worker makes strike-related threat. The local 80 of the IATSE, all right, closed its offices on Friday after receiving a threatening letter that was purported from an out-of-work grip. The letter, which was postmarked on Wednesday, appeared to be related to the ongoing WGA SAG-AFTRA strikes, said DeJohn Ellis Jr., the business manager of the union. He said some very scary things, Ellis said. He's just mad. He said he's out of work and homeless. He's distraught. I don't know if it's a cry for help or not knowing, all right, how to control his anger. No, he's looking at you and saying, you are betraying us. I can't feed my family while you fliptards are sitting there arguing about getting $55,000 a month guaranteed, and you turned it down. But BlackRock can only from his sales from Ancestry.com. Do you see the problem here, folks? Do you see how tone deaf these people have gotten?
I think they
And
sound lazy.
yeah, it's less work for more money. But what they don't understand is the climate has changed. The environment that they worked under has changed. They are no longer in the catbird seat. Their whole bitch about how many people remember all those stupid posts of I only got 99 cents in that residual check. I only received 99 cents in residual. What did you get paid for the work that you did on the show? What did you get paid? What did you get paid?
I didn't really care.
They were already making, for people who don't know this, that woman was already making over $9,000 a week. And yet she sits up there and puts out a post, oh, the poor starving artist bullshit of the residuals only 99 cents. As far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't get residuals for any of that. Now, that's a decision that the studios can make, but I wouldn't pay residuals. Not that way. Not if I'm paying you. Not if the outlay is $10,000 a week. If the outlay is $10,000 a week to you, I think you've been paid more than a fair freaking amount.
What's the
All right,
point
for
of
the
bitching
risk that
about
the
your
studios are taking.
wages, period?
What was that?
Seriously? I said, what's the point of bitching about your wages, period? Or, yeah, period? If you don't think you're making enough, get another job.
Oh, that's a good point. Americans are shocked, they say, at the new anti-phobia law that could jail people in Brazil for up to 5 years. To treat another human with disrespect merely for their preferences is quite a rarity these days. However, Brazil is taking things up a notch by introducing a new homophobia law that could entail could in jail, put a person in jail. A person jail time for 5 years. American fears that this law might find its way back to their country. Really? And how is that going to happen? Number one. And number two is, who's in control of Brazil right now? Oh, that's right. They're under the total control of another Marxist leftist government because they threw out Bolsonaro. You know, the guy who was Hitler incarnate, according to the American left. The guy who was Hitler incarnate, who's going to bring all this in, is no longer in charge, and the new leftist government declared war on the LGBTQ LMNOP. And why is Brazil doing that? Because they're looking at what's happening here in America, and they're saying no mas. Okay, that's why.
Whitmer tried something similar, but it got shot down. Because her daughter's in the LGBT and she wants the anti-hate speech stuff and
Surprise anybody?
she hurts. It hurts my head.
Oh, well, see how this hurts. Teacher of the month who liked to build relationships with pupils, no shit, right? Charged with sexual assault. A Tennessee high school teacher who's been awarded Teacher of the Month has been charged with statutory rape after allegedly having sex with one of her students. Casey McGrath, a 28-year-old geometry teacher at the Chattanooga Central High School, was suspended without pay in March after a months-long investigation into alleged inappropriate physical contact with a student. She was indicted on April 14th and charged with unlawfully and knowingly engaging in sexual penetration with a person of at least 13 years of age but less than 18 years of age, according to court documents obtained by Fox News.
Wait, go back. Did you say unlawfully and unknowingly?
And knowingly, not unknowingly, knowingly.
Okay.
All right. The incident noted that she is at least 10 years older than the victim. McGrath was arrested on April 18th and is out on release after posting $10,000 bond. She is scheduled to be arraigned in the Hamilton County Criminal Court on September 6th. Yeah. Okay. Now, here becomes the issue. We don't know any of the specifics here. We know that this is a supposed adult with a minor. Okay. From at least the accusation. We don't know the age of the quote unquote child. And I personally believe that our laws are failing to keep up with reality in this case. And I truly believe that. Do I think that this teacher's relationship is absolutely inappropriate and she should lose her job just for the relationship alone, regardless of whether or not, let's assume that this student, all right, that she's a college professor and that the student is 26 years old. We're just going to use this as an example. The fact that she engaged with sex with a student already should sit up there and be grounds for her dismissal as a teacher permanently. Permanently.
Well, I wouldn't put it past the fact that it could be a high school student.
Well, I'm sure it is a high school student because that's what that's where this actually took place. But I'm just saying hypothetically, I want people to understand when I talk about the laws that we have on the books. Okay, I think that they're wrong. Okay, when it comes to a 17-year-old male sleeping with a teacher who's 28 years old, is there a power dynamic involved in that? Yeah, there is a power dynamic. Is it sexual harassment and should it be considered statutory rape? In my opinion, not the legal opinion, because the law is very clear. Just because I don't like a law doesn't mean I get to ignore the law. It's just in my opinion, all right, that should be ignored. From the standpoint of, like I said, the legal process, the judicial process. As far as her being fired, I have no problem. Do you see my point? Now, if she's sleeping with a 13-year-old, that's a little different. This is what I mean about the law.
There was a school I went to. I don't know which one. I went to a lot of different schools. I got kicked out of a lot of different schools too, but one of them I went to, I had a teacher with the absolute greenest eyes I had ever seen, and I thought he was the hottest thing since sliced bread.
And you boinked him? Is that what you're saying? You went after him?
No. I tried to.
And he said, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of schools, University of San Francisco considers changing their longtime mascot amid student backlash. The University of San Francisco is considering replacing the longtime mascot, the Dawn, over student concerns that the mustachioed swashbuckler is too closely associated with the exploitation of California's indigenous peoples by the Spanish colonizers, according to the news reports. I've got a suggestion for your new mascot. Just do a 3D freaking recreation of the poop emoji. I'm sure that it'll be perfect for you guys. Whether you want to bitch about the Dawn or not, the swashbuckler or not, or if you want to sit there and bitch about, okay, what was the stupid guy who ran around with a stupid mask on his face? Oh, my God. Come on. I know you know this already. The guy who, the things.
Which guy, which mask, what time, what year?
The guy who's always been portrayed by, as the guy with the Zorro. For some reason, I could not think of the name Zorro. What are you going to sit up there? The guy's supposed to be basically a recreation of Zorro, and you guys have a problem with it? That's right. Because the indigenous people were conquered by the Spaniards. Oh, the indigenous people. You mean like the Aztecs? It'd be okay to have the Aztecs running around, the people who sit up there and cut out people's hearts and ate them as they kicked their bodies down the gigantic sun pyramids. Is that the ones you want? All right. Those indigenous
Oh,
people,
I
or
would
perhaps you're
love
talking about
that.
the Apaches who sit up there and raped women and killed everybody in enclaves of other tribal societies, all right, and tried to exterminate, and I mean exterminate, the Comanches to the man, only to lose when the Spaniards, all right, made a deal with the Comanche to take out the Apache. Are those the indigenous peoples that you're talking about? The Spanish colonizers that helped the Comanche overcome the tyranny of the Apaches? Those are the people you're talking about?
I would love to have that as a freaking picture. Just
I
a
got to
big
admit,
old baby.
I'm not a fan of the colors, but at least the mascot's okay. I don't have a problem with the mascot. But if you want to do the poop emoji, I mean that's what San Francisco is known for. For people who don't remember, this is the picture of the guy, right? This is the Dawn. All right. I was surprised that they didn't say that this is a false representation of Don Juan and therefore was a womanizer. So that's the reason they were upset. But no, it's the colonizer aspect of it.
Alright, I'm gonna go see if my husband sent me a validation code yet.
All right. Bye bye, Shorty. Take it easy. Cops. A nurse abandoned a dog at an airport. Pennsylvania police have filed criminal charges against a woman who, unable to take her dog on a flight, allegedly abandoned the pooch at the Pittsburgh airport before boarding a plane to Mexico vacation resort, according to the court records. Allison Lynn Geyser, a 44-year-old nurse, is facing cruelty to animals, neglect of animals, and animal abandonment counts. Okay, well, there is no cruelty to animals that I see here. Neglect, perhaps. Animal abandonment, yes. All right, according to the criminal complaint detailing the bizarre August 4th incident at the Pittsburgh International Airport. According to investigators, an unattended French bulldog was discovered sitting in a stroller next to a short term parking lot. The 7-year-old dog was unrestrained and could have exited the strollers, cops say. A subpoena or a subsequent probe determined that Glazier, bound for Mexico, attempted to bring the dog on her flight. However, an airline employee told Glazier that she could not travel with the animal since the dog did not meet the criteria for an emotional support animal and did not have a proper kennel as required, according to the complaint. Police alleged that her return from vacation on October 10th, Glazier freely admitted that she left the dog behind because the airline denied the dog boarding. Glazier showed the cops a text message in which she asked her mother to call the airport and tell them to take the dog to the local pound and she would get them when she comes back. Um, I, I don't know what to say about this. Okay. Um, aside from the woman is a dumbass. Okay. First of all, trying to take a dog on board and saying it doesn't meet the animal support requirements. I don't know what the airlines support animal requirements are. Okay. Obviously, the dog is very well behaved because it was found in the parking lot in a stroller. Okay. And not moving. So, as a threat to all the passengers and everything else, I don't see that this dog was not going to be a threat to anybody. Now, that said, taking an animal on an international flight, lady, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. Okay, but you got to have permits and everything else to bring a live animal anywhere outside of your country of origin. In fact, you need special permits to take a live animal in and out of some certain areas in the United States. For those who don't know this, for example, try traveling to Hawaii with your emotional support animal. and see what happens if you haven't done all the frickin' prerequisite paperwork. You will not be able to take your animal, all right, out of that airport. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. But I don't understand why she couldn't have called her mother and had her mother come pick up Fido. Okay? I really don't. If her mother was going to take the dog to the pound or anything, dude, you have to make some better arrangements than that. I have no problem with this woman being charged. Absolutely none. Let's go to a little YouTube tale here. Bring this for everybody. This is Dumbo, and Dumbo is in the water, and he's having a good time in the water. Or is he? No, he's really not, because there's critters in the water that aren't happy with him. And for people who don't know what's going on, he's tussling with an alligator. Or not an alligator, but a crocodile. Excuse me. A crocodile has latched onto his tail and has said, "Hey," and Packy here, not real happy that his tail's being bitten. And it's a matter of time before, there it goes, before the gator is dragged out on land and the pachyderm has his say. Once he gets Mr. Gator out of the freaking pond, once Croc Baby gets out on land and realizes, oh shit, I could be stepped on, and decides to leave. Smart freaking Croc. That is a smart animal. It's also a pretty fast-moving river. I'm pretty impressed. Shorty left a little too soon. I want to do this story with her here. Excuse me. Wandering gator found outside Michigan apartment building. A Michigan woman was faced with an unusual situation when she looked outside their apartment building and spotted a non-native animal, an alligator. Romulus Police Department said in a Facebook post that the baffled woman called to report an alligator or a crocodile wandering across her outside building. The dispatchers asked the woman to send a photo. She complied, showing them that was indeed an alligator. The deputy chief, Darren Shelby, said officers and a professional trapper collected the alligator from the apartment complex on the north side of Romulus. We don't know where it came from or how it got there, Shelby told USA Today. She said that the 4-foot alligator will be relocated to a new home. Imagine going outside and saying, "Okay, I'm gonna go feed the squirrel." What's this? If it's a support animal, it shouldn't have needed a cage. I agree, but they said that her animal didn't meet the support animal requirement, so I don't know what that meant. Final story of the day, folks. One more story. Final story of the day. Yes, we have Mr. Bear, and Mr. Bear is playing the piano. Dun 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 dun! It's Maestro Bear! No, this is a guy who a black bear got into his house, all right, and is now looking for, well, Boo Boo. Boo Boo's not here, so Yogi is busy trying to figure out how to find Boo Boo. Okay, is Boo Boo outside? No, Boo Boo's not outside. I guess Boo Boo is out for this. I'm sorry, Lou. That was the final story of the day. You missed it, but thank you for coming. Thanks for coming up, everybody. That was the last story. Hope that you all have a good day. Thanks for coming out. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye, everybody.